Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer. Starbucks is working overtime to stop unions from forming at their stores, and a new report says they've broken the law 200 times when their union busting efforts took place. We'll bring you the details. An oligarch close to Putin has said the threat of him using nuclear weapons should be taken very seriously. We'll bring you the latest details on that ongoing story. And both Biden and Trump's people want a rematch in 2024. But the public, not so much. All that and more coming up. So don't go anywhere. America's Lawyer starts right now. Starbucks is fighting unionization efforts at their stores, and the company appears to be willing to break the law to get there. Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins joins me now to talk about this and many other issues. And the guy I say is honestly the best voice in progressive media. I really do mean that.
Thank you.
Everybody, I say it a lot. People, I want to make the point. You're really good at what you do.
Well, thank you.
And so I appreciate that. It's a pleasure talking to you. I want to ask you about this. As I looked at this story, the most incredible thing that I found is that they've been down this road before. We've seen big corporations get spanked for doing exactly what Amazon is doing. I mean, yeah, well, I say Amazon.
Well, yeah.
Amazon's doing it, Starbucks is doing it. But I looked at this, it's their video, the things they can't do. The employees can't take videos of their shop, they can't take photos. We're going to threaten their benefits. We're going to threaten their pay raise. We're going to have surveillance. We're going to watch them with cameras, and then we're going to terminate them to set an example. Although this is Starbucks, it's Amazon all over.
Right. I mean, that actually, we have done plenty of segments where Amazon was the carbon copy. They did everything you're mentioning here, and now, of course, Starbucks says, well, hey, Amazon had some success with it. Let's try it ourselves. And so the National Labor Relations Board has hit them with this massive lawsuit, alleging at least that we know of 200 instances of breaking federal labor laws. And a lot of it, of course, does have to do with the retaliation against these employees, firing anybody who says, hey, what if we started a union? Starbucks immediately steps in and says, hey, what if you didn't have a job here anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
And even worse, last week, it was revealed that Howard Schultz, the guy that runs Starbucks, said on a call, hey, we're going to give everybody raises except the unionized workforce. Right. We're not giving them any new benefits, but I'm going to take such good care of all my other non-union employees, which, of course, that tactic, illegal, and that is seen as a form of union busting by not giving the benefits to everybody.
Okay, so his big talking point when he put all this together, the whole Starbucks pictures, we're partners. We're partners. And oh, by the way, we're one of the most progressive companies in the market. Really progressive company. So progressive has a whole new meaning if I look at what this guy did and I look what Bezos is doing with Amazon and so many of these tech companies. I mean, the tech companies plus this, it's the same foundation every time we see it. Look, people need to look. If you're watching this and you're wondering what rights do I have, the Section 7 of the NLRA tells you everything that you can and can't do. And I think it's really important that people understand this kind of thing has digressed to where you have Starbucks saying you can't even wear a pin on your shirt that talks about union, that says, I'm a member of a union, or please start a union. You can't wear a pin like that.
Well, no, you can't. But of course, you can wear your Black Lives Matter pins. You can wear your rainbow pins because we're progressive.
Yeah.
And we care about only social issues on the surface. And that's how they get away with this crap too, pretending to be progressive companies. They say, well, look at we're letting you wear these buttons. We support the LGBT community.
Yeah.
No, you don't. What you're doing is you're union busting, you're corporate, psychopaths.
Yeah.
And that's all you care about is your bottom line.
Bring your computer in, drink a latte, and you're going to be among friends.
Yeah.
Everybody in here is your partner. It's just the biggest. It's just the biggest bunk that we see this so often now, though, Farron. It's like. It comes from progressive organizations. It comes from people who really do wear that mantle. We're progressive for the very reasons that you point out. Yeah, we're good on some social issues, but where it comes to you making money, nah, we're not so progressive. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is out with a new conspiracy theory. They're claiming that SCOTUS leak was done to hurt his efforts to overturn the election. I couldn't even get my arms around this story when I read it. I'm trying to get the connection. Yeah, the Dennis D'Souza. Okay, he comes out with a movie. It's called 2,000 Mules, right? And it stands for the proposition that there was fraud involved in 2020. He proves, according to his thinking, that it was all fraud. This guy, of course, is the biggest supporter. I'm sure he paid for a lot of that. And now give me his talking point. Give me his talking point.
He says that, oh no, right before we're about to premiere this film, the Roe decision leaks from the Supreme Court, which was perfectly scheduled, he says, to interrupt the film. So nobody would pay attention to the film. That is exactly why whoever's sitting there in the SCOTUS who leaked this, regardless of, political affiliation, they only did it to hurt Mike Lindell, because everything in his world comes back to this is about me. Everything is about me in this little pillow land that this lunatic has created here. And I've been following this guy for so long. Every time he comes out, I always like to talk about it because I like to paint him as the face of just this loony fringe. Yeah. Well, it's not even a fringe, it's a majority now. Yeah. That still thinks this 2020 election was stolen. He has funded audits and recounts and 2 documentaries now. Yeah. None of it could prove anything.
Look, I ask everybody when they talk to me about the great fraud that took place in 2020, I said, well, show me something. Have you found anything? Because I have been looking. I've found some, I got to tell you, I found some real irregularities. I found some stuff where people were trying to commit fraud, but did it change the election? And that's really the bottom line. It was like, it's the same analysis with Hillary Clinton when she got clobbered by this sociopath, Trump, and then she tries to blame it on the Russians, like it was the Russians' fault. There's no showing of that. This is the same kind of thing. I don't see anything that shows that there was any kind of systemic fraud that took place in that election. If you found it, now's your time to say it.
No, and that's every time I mention this guy, I always talk about if he has what he claims he has, he would have shown it to people. Everybody has to understand this is probably the king of the grifters. Mm-hmm. He does this, and every time he does it, he always has a new promo code for you to go use on his website to buy his products, which is exactly, by the way, what Dominion Voting Systems has said in their lawsuits. Like, he knows he's lying. Yeah. He's only doing it to sell more product.
Yeah. Are his pillows any good? I mean, how many videos have you done on this guy?
I wish I even knew. It's so many at this point.
It's at least a dozen. And I got to thinking, well, Farron, you're doing these videos. Have you tried his pillow?
I actually have. My wife and I did try them out one time. We decided to not go with that. We went with the bamboo pillows instead. Yeah. So, for me personally, not a fan of the product either.
If anybody's watching has tried his pillows and you think they're great, please comment. I'd like to. I really want the answer to that. An oligarch close to Putin says that we shouldn't underestimate the Russian leader's desire to use nuclear weapons in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. You got to take this seriously, okay, because this guy's putting himself out there. Just in the last month, there have been 7 of these oligarchs murdered. Not just them murdered, their entire families murdered. And so for him to step out and say, you know what, there's a problem here, there's got to really be a problem. Take it from there, if you would.
There really is. And he says, we have to take this seriously, mainly because this guy's mental health and possibly his physical health as well, it's gone. He says it is just shot. And he sees this. This is a guy, again, who is very close to him. These oligarchs, people have to understand, it's not necessarily like U.S. billionaires that go out there and do, say stupid stuff. These people are basically advisors to the Russian government. These oligarchs control entire industries. They are the right-hand men and women of this administration. They know him personally. They meet with him. Yeah. So for one of them to come out and say these things like, 1, he has not ruled out using nuclear weapons. 2, his mental health is shot. 3, we think there are serious physical ailments with him, cancers, possibly Parkinson's. This guy's got nothing left to lose, and that's why he's so dangerous.
Well, think about this. This oligarch knew that he was a dead man walking. When he came out and said that, why do it? Well, here's what I see happening. The oligarchs at this point are understanding that everything they've acquired illegally that was given to them by Putin to begin with. These are people that came from the KGB, they came from special operations in the Russian government. And when the wall fell, they were handed this. Here, you take the heavy metal industry, you take the energy industry, you take the shipping industry. They were given these things. And so when we see an oligarch coming out and saying this, what he understands is they're losing all of that. They're taking all this property away. You've got a ship in Italy, $700 million boat that was confiscated just last week. They got problems with it. They're taking their homes. They got homes all over the world. They're taking their money. They're targeting with sanctions. And so the oligarchs are kind of understanding this guy is not helping us anymore. Yeah. And if you take a look at his medical history, as you point out, the thyroid cancer, the Parkinson's disease potential. One other thing, the doomsday plane that was in the parade. Did you see that? They had their big parade. 11,000 troops were in their parade. It was a show of force. That doomsday plane was in there for a reason. It's to say, this is what we're going to fly away in as we start a nuclear war.
Right, and that's exactly why it is called the doomsday plane. This is their, last final option if they hit that point, which of course would be devastating. And I think the biggest problem here too is Putin willing to use nukes that close to his own border?
Yeah.
I think they'd be going somewhere else. Well, that's the biggest problem.
They do have Chernobyl. They live with it. Look, this guy's going to disappear for a while. I think he's going to have some surgery. He's going to have medical care. My prediction, he's not going to be on the grid. And when he moves off the grid, he sure better have somebody in charge that's going to keep things like they remain right now. Bernie Sanders wants to know why corporations that break the law are receiving billions of dollars worth of government contracts. And that's a really good question. He came out and he said, look, why would we have Amazon? Why would we give $10 billion to this union-busting freak who tries to make everybody believe that life is good for the workers around Amazon? Why do we give him $10 billion? Because, Mr. President, oh, by the way, all you have to do is do an executive order and you can stop all that. What's preventing Biden from doing that? That's the question that Bernie Sanders has raised.
And I think, honestly, this is a question that is probably decades overdue at this point. Why? Not just Amazon, but any company, which is pretty much all of them that we know of, that breaks the law. They're out there doing horrible things like laundering money for terrorists, poisoning the environment, poisoning humanity. Mm-hmm. And we just give them all this money because, well, you're the best there is at what you do. So here's another $10 billion, Mr. Bezos. Have fun with your Washington Post. Have fun, with your workers peeing in bottles because you don't even give them bathroom breaks. Oh, and don't be afraid to spend a little bit of this on your union-busting law firms you hire.
Yeah, some great articles come out about what the trade-off was. Washington Post, of course, loves everything, no matter how crazy it is, that this administration does. It's all okay. Washington Post is always there for him. So on the other side, you've got Biden who's taken all that in. Thanks a lot, appreciate it. But all he has to do is sign an executive order and said, we're not going to give this corporate welfare to people who do union busting because we care about workers. And if you'll think about it, that was one of Biden's campaign promises. He came into office, he said, look, I'm going to stop this union busting. He was talking about the tech companies. The tech companies are doing all these terrible things to unions. He was talking about Amazon. And that was one of the things he ran on. And he even used the idea, I can do an executive order if you put me in office. Instead, he gives these creeps around Amazon $10 billion, along with $3 billion worth of subsidies.
Right, and then of course, the additional $40 billion, whatever, for the microchip research that this billion-dollar company allegedly wants to do. The $10 billion, of course, is just kind of a gift in and of itself. That's not necessarily earmarked for anything. That is just a gift on top of the rest of the tens of billions to
Well, somebody's got to ask, again, we can't, I refuse to allow you or I to stand up here and, let's clap for Biden again when we can see it. I mean, all he has to do is do an executive order. He could stop all this immediately. But he's getting great articles coming out of the Washington Post.
But, it also reminds you what we almost had here, because I guarantee if he was in that White House, we would have had that executive order day one.
Oh, absolutely. Billionaires have added a staggering $1.7 trillion to their wealth since the pandemic began, while Americans are being crippled by rising prices. I looked at this story. I love, Truth Out, they do a great job. I didn't get the connection here about, people are making trillions of dollars, and it somehow has to do with COVID. The two didn't fit. I mean, one is, they're making money for a lot of other reasons, not really COVID. But you raise an issue in the way you analyze this. Talk to me about it.
Well, one of the big things that happened at the start of the pandemic, obviously, is you had a lot of small businesses close their doors. People, lockdown orders, whatever it is you want to call them, small businesses did have to close down. Most of them thought, 2 weeks and we're good. But it became longer than that. And so Americans needing things had to turn to companies that could deliver it to their homes.
Big box companies and delivery companies.
Amazon already had, the market edge on that. Walmart had rolled out their, 2-day delivery on items just a couple years prior to that, so they were a direct competitor as well. But it became the only people that could stay in business, the only people that could really profit off of this were the big box stores. While your local, maybe a little mini mart that you have that you use, a local grocer, they get pushed out of the way. And again, the Krogers and the Publixes as well made buku money, while at the same time raising their prices.
Farron, what is the money? How much are we talking about increases in the wealth of these folks?
Well, we've got overall the 1.7 trillion, and they did, of course, here. You've got Bezos went from 113 billion to 150 billion. Yeah. Bill Gates from 98 billion to 130 billion. The Walton family, they saw their wealth grow by 27%. So they're at 20,
so I think you raise a good issue. When I first looked at this, Truth Out, you're really trying to force an issue. I think that's at least part of it. I think it's a good answer to what's going on here. It created like Bezos, you just described a $40 billion increase. That makes sense when they're delivering it to the people's house.
And all of this inequality comes at the same time, obviously. Americans are losing their jobs. They're being furloughed, laid off, whatever it is. Their income goes down. Their buying power is still down because of inflation and because of price gouging. While these people are hoarding all of this money, they're not reinvesting it, right? They're not giving people raises. They're not expanding and saying, well, come work for us. That's the problem, is the wealth inequality.
In other words, the race to the bottom continues, even when the bottom was really ugly during the COVID crisis. Trump and Biden want to fight each other again in the 2020 election. But the public would prefer to see anyone other than these two candidates going at it. I got to tell you something. I looked at this and I said, okay, here's the way. It's a tired old man fighting dementia versus the sociopath with no moral compass. That does not bring a warm and fuzzy feeling to me when I'm saying those are the two candidates that we're going to be talking about. It's almost a gag reflex when I think about it.
Well, excuse me, I think it was back in 2014, you and I were doing segments, because in 2014 it looked like we were going to have Hillary Clinton versus Jeb Bush. So we had talked about another Clinton versus Bush. Everything is just repeating itself. But now this is even worse. America had Trump for 4 years. They said, my God, at the end of it, we're sick of this. They've had Biden for 15 and a half months, and they're already saying, oh my God, we're sick of this. So to put these two back up there, which unfortunately looks like that is what's going to happen.
I just can't even.
The numbers are astounding, though. It's about 65% of Americans say, I would support a third-party candidate if these are the two guys that you give me to choose from. And that's actually a wonderful opportunity for anybody that's not, horrible like these guys to jump in and possibly take this election and maybe put us on a different path, a better path,
Oh
breaking
my
the
God,
duopoly.
Just take us out of where we are right now. So on the Democratic side, it looks like the Democrats are desperate to hold on to what they remember, even though it's not quite accurate. They remember is the golden Clinton years before he completely lost his moral compass. And on the Republicans, they're so angry. They're so tired of woke and what they call snowflake politics. And they're just saying, we would put Rasputin up if we can just get past this. So it's this they believe, both sides believe, not to a big majority, but certainly a significant majority, say that this is a good idea. Yeah. This is a good idea. Let's run Biden against Trump. To me, I can't even comprehend that that's the way people are thinking.
Well, and the Democrats are making the same mistake that Hillary Clinton made in 2016 because their camp said, oh, we definitely want to go against Trump. He's so easy, he's so beatable. And now Biden's people are out there telling the media, oh man, we would love for Trump to be the person we go up against. No, you wouldn't. Right now, election held today, Trump's beaten Biden by, I think, 6 points.
Yeah, 6 or 7 points.
And Trump's people know that.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part for them.
But isn't it bothersome that they're willing to say, yeah, we're going to let you run again, knowing what we went through, and knowing that we're going to take advantage of the fact that this is what Biden's facing. Inflation. He's facing an economy that is in the tank. If you take a look at the GDP, it's in the tank. Stock market's in the tank. You've got a recession right around the corner that's going to time itself right into the midterms. And you've got the Dems believing that gender rights or abortion issues or unisex bathrooms are what voters care about. Biden has lost the woman at home taking care of a family. He's lost her. Because they're going to the store, there's nothing. It looks like Moscow, 1965, in some places around this country, where the shelves are empty. They go to. There's not enough baby formula even to take care of their children. They look at prices that have gone up 40% on just items like bread and milk. And Biden seems to think, well, we can get past all that by talking about the standard woke issues. He's dead in the water.
Right.
And unfortunately, this crazy man, Trump, could actually beat him.
Well, he absolutely could. And unfortunately, the Biden, administration came out recently, told the media, our plan is to make the midterms all about Trump, about how bad Trump is.
Is that a good idea?
Absolutely. Look, everybody that's not, hoarding MAGA gear in their closet, everybody knows how bad Trump was. You don't have to go out there and say it every day. What they want to know is, listen, I can't afford groceries. And hey, guess what? When I can afford them, sometimes they're not there. That is a thing that happens. I know liberals, they do get mad when you say that, oh, the shelves are empty. No, we've experienced that in our local grocery store.
Of course.
There's no chicken for months.
I don't know where these folks are that sound, Pap, this is no problem. You're making that up. You're talking like a right-wing nut. I hate to hear that kind of stupidity.
Right. It's a thing that does happen. And the baby formula is obviously a big issue.
How about this? There's still 20% of voters who say, yeah, the economy is really good. Where in the hell do they live? I mean, honestly, 55% say Biden is the cause of a failed economy. That's the headline right there. 55% say Biden, whether it's true or not, whether it's holdover from Trump, it doesn't make any difference. They hang it around Biden's neck.
Right. And
Biden is incapable of defending himself at this point. If it's not on a teleprompter, it's word salad. And that's what you'd have in debates. You would have absolutely, it would look like word salad versus this sociopathic babble. That's what the debate would look like.
Right. And look, is Biden the reason the prices are up right now? Personally, I don't think he is responsible for this.
I don't think he is either.
Right. He's not out there saying gas companies raise the price of gas. That's beyond his control, but he is the president.
Right.
And so, yes, it does fall at his feet.
Most economists that look at it, it's much more complicated than Biden. It really is. You're coming out of COVID, you've got people that aren't even back to work yet. You've got part of the economy where they've stopped working. They're going home. I don't need to work anymore. I've got something else I'm going to do. So you've got all this stuff happening, but 55% of the American public are saying it's Biden's fault.
Right.
And the terrible thing about it is he can't seem to defend himself. He's putting Kamala Harris out there to defend him. When you talk about psychobabble, listen to that woman sometime trying to defend the president. It's useless. A Capitol rioter who dressed up as a caveman on January 6th has been sentenced to 8 months in jail for his behavior that day. Now, last week we did this story. You found this story. It's a wonderful story about this Capitol rioter, January 6th, who kept a log.
Yeah.
Today I did this, today I did that, right on the grounds, and I did all these terrible things. And they used that to prosecute him. This guy is a judge's son, right?
Yep.
Up in Brooklyn. He dresses, just look at this guy. This is what unfortunately progressives have to overcome when they do it, but it doesn't seem to bother the GOP when this is the picture. This is who we've become on the GOP side. And so take it from there.
Well, I love the fact that in the decision, in the prosecution's arguments, they pointed out exactly what I was thinking when I saw this story. This individual was living in a fantasy. And I don't even know if he fully comprehends just how serious what he did was. And I think that's the case with a lot of these Capitol rioters. Look, I got no problem with the convictions at all, but I think some of these people need more than just jail. I think they need serious help. Like the guy with the big horn helmets.
The Viking.
These people thought it was like Renaissance fair in the park or something.
You talking about the Viking?
Yeah.
Comes in like a Viking. Okay, so here's what hurts both parties. This is the extreme that's published for the Republicans. The same thing is over there with the Democrats. If you talk about, freakish looking characters, but it doesn't take many photographs like that to where you say, yeah, that's what the GOP's become. So tell me, where did this land for this guy? Where's he going?
Well, he's going to prison for 8 months, and I hope they understand that, look, just simply locking these folks away doesn't do much of anything. And even this guy had mentioned to his friends on an encrypted app, he said, yeah, listen, look, I did all this, but don't worry, my dad's a judge, so I'm going to be okay.
Don't worry, I'm okay.
Well, it didn't work out so well for him, but no, I think these people need deep psychological help and get to the root of why because everybody always says, well, they got swept up in the moment.
I kind of like the Democrat side of crazy. They dress up like superheroes. I like the whole superhero thing, but it's still peculiar. It's still odd. And somebody that says, wow, is this what they've become? Is this what the GOP's become? That's the question. Farron Cousins, thank you. Another great week. I appreciate your input.
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but you can find all of today's videos on YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Ring of Fire. And the videos are going to be posted throughout the week, and you can follow us on Twitter at America's Lawyer. I'm Mike Papantonio, and this has been America's Lawyer, where we tell you the stories that corporate media won't tell you because their advertisers don't let them tell those stories, and their political connections won't allow for it. We'll see you next week.